Jerry, thank you. Thank you. Mr. Mayor, thanks for the passport into town. I tell you, every time I come to the greater Chicago area, there's somebody I want to steal and bring back to Washington. I've done it a couple times, you know.
Well, good morning to everyone. I want to especially thank the members of our cabinet for the work that you and your teams have been doing over the course of these months. Doing extraordinary work. We are the first administration to collectively, through the leaders of this administration, to take a critical look at what we can do as the federal government, which of course is the largest employer in our country, to improve the condition and the standing of our workers, of the men and women who work so hard and do so much for the benefit of the public. And so I will say what we all know. The President and I think all of us are very proud at what we will believe will be the most pro-labor union administration that we've had in our country. Our principles are based on a very firm and strong belief that when our unions are strong, the American people are strong.
Members and staff negotiated through the night in good faith. The Senate is moving toward the plan I laid out yesterday to spare the American people a manufactured crisis. All year, the Democratic government has made unprecedented and repeated use of reconciliation to pass radical policies on party line votes. So, back in July, Republicans informed our colleagues they would need to pursue any long-term increase in the debt ceiling through the same process. The President, the Speaker, and the Democratic leader had 3 months' notice to do their jobs. But for 2.5 months, the Democratic leaders did nothing and then complained that they were actually short on time. The majority didn't have a plan to prevent default, so we stepped forward. The pathway our Democratic colleagues have accepted will spare the American people any near-term crisis while definitively resolving the majority's excuse that they lacked time to address the debt limit through the 304 reconciliation process. Now there'll be no question they'll have plenty of time.
Brinksmanship did not work. For the good of America's families, for the good of our economy, Republicans must recognize in the future that they should approach fixing the debt limit in a bipartisan way. What is needed now is a long-term solution, so we don't go through this risky drama every few months. And we hope Republicans will join in enacting a long-term solution to the debt limit in December. We're ready to work with them. Leader McConnell and Senate Republicans insisted they wanted a solution to the debt ceiling, but said Democrats must raise it alone by going through a drawn-out, convoluted, and risky reconciliation process. That was simply unacceptable to my caucus. And yesterday, Senate Republicans finally realized that their obstruction was not going to work. I very much thank my Democratic colleagues for showing our unity in solving this Republican-manufactured crisis. Despite immense opposition from Leader McConnell and
Democrats are going to take a short-term debt ceiling increase instead of accepting Republicans' reconciliation offer. Everybody, this is your fourth stimulus check update. Senate Democrats emerged from a closed-door special caucus meeting on the debt ceiling and said they intend to take GOP Minority Leader Mitch McConnell up on his short-term debt ceiling increase. Multiple senators and aides told ABC News Democrats are rejecting McConnell's offer. That would have Republicans expediting Democrats passing a longer-term debt ceiling increase, using a special budget reconciliation process that they're using to pass the multi-trillion-dollar social spending bill. Elizabeth Warren told reporters McConnell caved, and we intend to take this temporary victory, and then try to work with the Republicans to do this on a longer-term basis. Folks, Bernie Sanders says there's not going to be reconciliation, and that it's unclear if a vote on the new proposal would occur Wednesday night or Thursday, though the latter appeared more likely. Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell offered Democrats two options to increase debt ceiling: Both options require the Democrats to increase the debt ceiling by a specific amount, which the party has not wanted to do, fearing political implications of an increase to the nation's borrowing limit approved solely by Democrats. So, Democrats rejected an offer the Republicans offered to help Democrats. So this comes if Republicans refuse to allow Democrats to move forward on raising the debt ceiling with a simple majority vote. So ahead of Mitch McConnell's proposition, Senate Republicans had planned a filibuster under a House-passed measure on Wednesday that would suspend the debt limit until December 2022. At least 10 Republicans would need to join all Senate Democrats to break the GOP filibuster and allow a simple majority vote to pass the bill, which President Biden has called for, telling Republicans in a meeting with business leaders earlier yesterday to get out of the way. Without Republican support, Biden and other Democrats raised carving out an exception to ending the filibuster for the debt ceiling vote, which would take the support of all 50 Democratic senators. But it doesn't seem to be a pathway forward either. Joe Manchin, who along with fellow Senate Democrat Kyrsten Sinema, has balked at the changes to the filibuster rules, and dug into his position earlier, putting the responsibility of the economic crisis squarely on the shoulders of the Senate leaders. Schumer had said earlier on the floor that the Senate must move forward with the responsible thing and vote to allow the U.S. to keep paying its bills. Schumer said Republicans' obstruction on the debt ceiling over the last few weeks has been reckless and irresponsible, but nevertheless, Republicans will today have the opportunity to get where they wanted to be. The first and easiest option is this: Republicans can simply get out of the way, according to Chuck Schumer. But Democrats and Biden have reiterated that paying off U.S. debt is a historically bipartisan measure, and that the funds Congress will be approving were spent in part under then Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell. McConnell has repeatedly said the Democrats should have to hike the debt limit to cover the cost of potentially trillions of dollars in yet passed parts of Biden's agenda. Though the debt limit must be raised to cover spending that already took place under the former president's administration, with unified GOP support. Amid Democrats' calls for carving the filibuster, McConnell told members in a lunch meeting about the two options: a short-term extension or an expedited reconciliation process. But those would also give Republicans exactly what they've been asking for politically: an increase to the nation's borrowing limit, approved solely by Democrats for the GOP to seize on its midterms. Janet Yellen and the White House economists have warned that without action, Americans will feel the real-world effects of a self-inflicted economic crisis in the coming days. Consequences include delays to Social Security payments and checks to service members, a suspension of veteran affairs, veteran benefits, and rising interest rates on credit cards.